and we all have them. And so one of the things that she found, and there's many, many, many more, but these are just some of the ones that she categorized, and then her son Mario kind of picked up on this and added to it. But some of these things that they do, they explore. They need to get their hands dirty. They need to be able to find it for themselves. They need to be able to look at it themselves. They need to explore. That's why we have a lot of materials where they can manipulate the work themselves. They need to be able to work. They need to be able to move. They need to be able to get up and find these things. Children cannot sit still for very long. We know this. But the movement actually helps them to learn. Maria Montessori said there's a direct connection between the hand and the brain, especially at this age group. If they manipulate with their hand, if they themselves can do it, then they learn a whole lot better. How many of us are auditory learners where we learn better when we hear something? How many of us are visual learners where we need to be able to see it? And how many of us are kinesthetic learners where we have to do it ourselves in order to do it? So I am both a visual learner and I'm a kinesthetic learner, especially when I was learning about the Montessori materials. Let me see it being done, and then let me get my hands dirty and let me do it. I'm going to only gain a surface understanding of it if I see it. I'm really going to get an understanding if I sit and do it myself. And so children need to be able to do that. They need to have a sense of order, a sense of sequence. And that doesn't always mean that the room's tidy and clean. That means that they need to see the sequence of things that the biggest to the smallest, things like that. They want this spoon goes in this cup and it's over here. Trust me, I have children that will tell me, no, this goes right over here, Natalie. And I'm sure if you go down to 3 to 6, you will see children, they're like, you can't move anything around the room because they know where it goes. Children need to be able to orient themselves to their environment. That helps them to find their place, where they are. They need to be able to understand that this is my space. Many times, all of our studios, we have a language area, we have a math area, we have a cultural area, and so they need to be able to know where things are, and part of the order comes in that. We order our things from easiest, most simple, to hardest, most complex, or most concrete to most abstract, so they know, oh, if I want to get something and I know kind of what level I'm at, I need to go here. I know exactly where I need to go. I know exactly how to do it because this is my space and I know where I am at it. Children imagine. And imagining is so powerful. And this is not just let me imagine the fantasy world. This is I can imagine the stars, things I haven't been able to see. I can't see it for myself, but I know that it's there. I can sit and wonder at things, and I can be able, my imagination, my curiosity, my wonder is going everywhere. I'm asking all these questions, and I can imagine all these things that are happening. They need to be able to repeat things, do them over and over and over and over again in an effort to be able to perfect them, to be able to get better at them. They're constantly wanting to, we all do. We all want to find things, and there's certain activities that we all do that we strive to get better. Piano is one of my things. I'm constantly practicing so that I can get better at that. And communicating. Communicating is very, very important. We are social creatures, and not too long ago I had a lesson with my kiddos in Ocean on the importance of communication. And so we talked about what are the 3 types of communication that we have. We have body language, we have spoken language, and we have the written language. And then we talked about what would happen, how could we do things if we couldn't communicate, if we couldn't use body language, if we couldn't use spoken language, if we couldn't use the written language. I wonder what would happen. And I was tapping into that imagination aspect of that and that exploration aspect, and they sat and they thought, and one kid said, well, I can go, and I'm like, well, you were using your vocal cords, so that's spoken language. Another kid was like, well, I can do sign language. And I was like, well, sign language is a form of body language. It was fall at the time, so one kid looked outside, saw a bunch of leaves, and she said, well, what if I took these leaves and made a picture? And I said, well, that picture kind of sounds a whole lot like some of the ancient civilizations that we've been talking about, the ancient forms of communication. That sounds an awful lot like a pictograph. But that's a type of written language. And we kind of went on and on about this until finally a couple of them got frustrated. They're like, Natalie, I give up. He said, this is what I can do. He like face down right on the floor, hands at his side, and just didn't do anything. And I looked at him and I said, you know what? You're right. If we can't communicate, we really can't do a whole lot. And then, as adults, thinking about the systems thinking and thinking about how our bodies interact and communicate with our bodies. Our brain communicates with my arm to make my arm move. If we couldn't communicate at all, if anything couldn't communicate, we couldn't survive. If the sun couldn't communicate with the tree couldn't survive. So everything is dependent upon that communication, really, when you think about it. And so human beings are also dependent on communicating. We are driven to be able to share things, such as social media and things like that. We have to be able to, we get excited when we want to share, whether it's with the friend right next to us, or whether it's with the written word and writing a book. We have to have that tendency to communicate. So, how do we then take these learning aspects and how does that, it's all nice and good, but how does that fit into the children that we have in front of us, the children that we know? What else is part of that element? So the participants who we are involved right now involve the child and the adult. So the child, what the child does is he uses these human tendencies to imagine, to explore, to communicate, to work, all these things. He uses whatever plane of development is, how he gets that information in, and he creates this own web of learning. And each individual child's web of learning is different, even if you have the same information given to you. Every information, every web is different. So, as you think about it, as you think about your own childhood, and you think about all those things, all those events that happened in your life, and how those things made you who you are today, you can think about this intricate web that has been built and all the different things that are connected to it. One of the different circumstances that I experienced, and my sister Priscilla also experienced, is many years ago when my youngest sister, was 12 years old, she had hydrocephalitis, which is water on the brain, and she had to have brain surgery. And they were afraid for a while that she would be mentally retarded and would be behind. And so Priscilla and I, after she had the brain surgery and everything, Priscilla and I worked really, really, really hard to help catch her up so that she wasn't so behind and to help her. We'd be brushing her teeth and practicing math facts. I mean, we did all kinds of stuff. But what I remember of that, we had the same exact experience. What I remember out of that and how I built myself as the big sister is different from what Priscilla did as the twin sister. And so we have to think about this, even though we're giving the same information, they're going to build their own little structure. And they're absorbing everything and using all those constructs. And so we have to allow for that to happen. We have to teach them and interact with them with that in mind. And then the other participant is us as the adults. And so I mentioned this at the beginning, but I know we had a few stragglers come in. So as adults in here, if we want to just go around the room and introduce yourself and maybe state how many children you have and what ages they are, we want to go ahead and do that. Who wants to start?
I'm Joe Oberton. My daughter Monica is our only child, and she is in Priscilla's studio in 6 to 9.
Okay.
I'm Melissa Watson-Smith. I have a 7-year-old daughter and a 5-year-old son and a 1-year-old son.
I'm Chelsea Gordon, and my 6-year-old is almost 7, and she's in Ocean, and her name's Harper, and then I have a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old.
My name is Hope. I have 3 kids. I have a son named Ben and Sapphire, and he's 10. And then I have an 8-year-old daughter named Summer, and she is in Tundra. And then I have a 3-year-old daughter who stays home with me.
Melissa Euler. I have just the one kiddo. He is 10 and in Diamond.
I'm Rachel Anderson, and my stepchildren are Emma and Jackson. Emma's 13 and Jackson's 10.
Hi, I'm Victoria. I have a son, Sebastian, and he's in Tundra.
I'm Barbara. I have 2 older children. They both graduated from here. Caitlin, who's 25, and Casey, who's 22.
I'm Siki Fong. I don't have any children, but I teach in Tundra Studio.
Okay. And I do not have any children. I have 31 children. I think I finally like to say.
You have 31 children?
In my studio. So as participants, we are involved in this system. We interact with our children at school, at home, and so we have a big part to play in this system of their learning. So what's our role as adults? Well, for one, I think I've kind of alluded to this quite a bit, but we need to look and observe, where are they in the plane of development? How is their brain working? And what are some of the things that they are picking up? How are they processing information? Are they still in that absorbent mind where they're getting everything in the totality? Are they still asking these, what's this and what's that and what's the other thing? They're trying to find the names of everything. Or are they in that second plane of development where they're starting to branch off into maybe not so much of the intellectual things, but maybe more of the social things? How do I deal with my friend being mad at me and I don't know what to do with that? Or one of the things that I was dealing with today was 2 learners who they were struggling with playing nicely, or when one friend wants to go off with another friend and how to deal with that, and all of those social skills that they have to learn and intertwine together. And so we need to meet them where they are and use these different insights to help us to grow. And then find what are some of the human tendencies that they enjoy doing. Do they like to explore and to communicate? How can I make what I do with them to meet those human tendencies? Those are questions that I ask myself every single day. When I have a lesson that I'm getting ready to give, one of the questions that I ask myself at the beginning, before I give the lesson, is what are some of the human tendencies that I'm getting ready to use? And then at the end of the lesson, I go back and reflect and say, okay, did I meet those needs? Was there something that I missed? Can I go back and get that later? And then another thing that we have is to create an environment that provides these opportunities. Maria Montessori called it the prepared environment. And to create this atmosphere that they can explore and communicate and share and work in. And then one of the big things that we can do is show a love of the universe. They are grasping at everything they can. They're these little sponges. So we need to show them how we love the universe and show them this wonder and curiosity about the world around us. And so one of the things that Maria Montessori talked about in the absorbent mind is it is not acquired by listening to words. She's talking about learning. Learning is not acquired by listening to words, but by virtue of experiences in which the child acts on his environment. The teacher's task is not to talk, but to prepare and arrange a series of motives for cultural activity in a special environment made for the child. So when I give lessons, I do not give lessons about different concepts. I give lessons to teach them how to use the material, such as how to use the stamp game and how to do addition with the stamp game, and then I let them go manipulate and explore and create that learning for themselves. So what about the prepared environment? And we're running out of time here, so I'm going to go a little bit faster. So we have to create this environment for them to create this learning. So for me, the prepared environment has two aspects. It has the physical environment, which includes, the physical layout, the furniture, which should be, if you have an environment for the children, it should be at the height of the child, so it's appropriate for them. Just like we use beds in the children's bedrooms, their bed grows with them. So we need to have furniture that grows with them. We have a sequence of materials from concrete to abstract, from most simple to most complex. And then we always try to make things look orderly and beautiful. I spend time at the beginning before school and at the end of school trying to make everything look nice and neat. The materials that I purposely choose are purposeful to look beautiful, to attract the child to be able to want to explore. If it doesn't look nice, they're not going to want to use it and explore. So we have to make sure they look nice. And then, so you have the physical environment, and then you have the spiritual environment, which is kind of how we go about it. How do I help them with that wonder and curiosity? If I'm using words like, I wonder what would happen if, da-da-da-da. Or if you sit and you're walking down the street and you just take some time to smell the roses, per se. Look at that rose. Do you see the petals all around it? I wonder, what happens how do bees get to it? Or how do, you can go on and on and on. But just taking that time to interact with them, to show them that wonder and curiosity. Another thing is to help them to be independent. And this could be a whole workshop on its own. But independence is huge. I'm constantly asking myself, and my co-teacher and I were just having this conversation about what can we do to help them to be more independent from us. I'm doing too much, and so what can I do so that they're perfectly capable of doing it, so why not let them do it? And finding ways for them to do it on their own. And then one of the other things that we can do is help them to show peace and love and respect. For humans, for living creatures, for the universe. That is so huge, and that also could be a whole PIP workshop in and of itself. I think one of the ways to do that is to help them see the universe. Dr. Philip Snowgang, in his video to educate eco-sapiens, listed 3 different qualities to help us encourage them to have love and respect for the universe. One of them was cosmophilia, which is simply an overwhelming awe that one feels for the universe. That sense that when you go into a planetarium, or when I go into a planetarium and I see the stars, and especially when it kind of zooms and takes you from the big galaxies and zooms all the way down, and how itty-bitty small we really are, and then zooms all the way back up, that to me is amazing, gives me goosebumps every single time. And just simple understanding of how complex our world is. It's so, you can't even understand it. Scientists are constantly coming up with new things. We're constantly redefining things that they thought previously, that they learned a different way. So just having that awe and wonder. The second quality is ecophilia, which is the tendency to bond with the natural world and to notice or feel the presence of the earth system. This isn't just like a tree huggers thing. This is a sense of, we need to protect the world. We need to respect it. I talk to my kids. We need to make sure that we're using paper appropriately, because this paper is made out of a tree, and every time you waste a paper, you're cutting down part of that tree. And so we just need to have a sense of protectiveness of our earth and help keep it safe. And then biophilia, which is the instinctive love for the living world. Not just humans, but also other living creatures, and how we can protect those environments. And if we have those 3 elements, then we can show forth that love of the cosmos to them. And then the other aspect that Maria Montessori talks a lot about is the 3 questions. Who am I? Where did I come from? And what is my purpose? Every single human being has to be able to understand those questions, be able to figure those out for themselves, figure out why we're here on this earth. What's our purpose? What's our calling? I definitely feel that my calling is to be, as a Montessori teacher, to help and support children. I feel it in my very bones. And so I'm sure each one of you have a sense of purpose and a place that you have in helping our children to develop who they are and where they come from and what they're supposed to do in life. And that is what's going to make us a better future. And so as we close, I just wanted to bring this quote from the Absorbent Mind. If we put all of these things into our system, if we take the learning insights that we have from Maria Montessori and others around her, and I just talked about Maria Montessori, but there's plenty of other people who have contributed to this. If we take and look at the participants and who all is involved, the child and the adult, if we look at the practice and how we prepare the environment and how we help them to gain a better understanding of the world that they live in, then we then can become witnesses to the development of the human soul, the emergence of the new man who will no longer be the victim of events, but thanks to his clarity of vision will become able to direct and mold the future of mankind. So as we close, I offer you these two questions. How can we interconnect the school environment with the home environment and make those match? And then the second question, what did you discover about the interconnections that we talked about between these three things, the learning insights, the participants, and the practice, that can support our children for exceptional learning? So I will conclude with that and open it up to any questions or comments that anybody has.
My question is, your first one there. What if you had 2-3 ways to say, how can we interconnect the school environment with the home environment? What would you say to folks?
I would say look at human tendencies and think about what's going on at home and how you can take your interactions with your child and incorporate some of those human tendencies. So helping them to explore what's around them. A lot of children use that for work at home. How can you connect them to the earth, to our universe? What can you do to help them to communicate? Talking with them about what they're learning, things like that. Not just at school, but just as a human being. So those are the three things that I would say about my head. Anybody else? Well, thank you again, guys, for coming out and taking time out of your day. Hopefully you were able to gain a little bit of insight. Thank you for letting me share my journey, and thank you, Barbara, for letting me share this with all of you.